All right. I am so excited to be here with you today, Timothy Joe. I'm going to call you Tim for the rest of the conversation. How's it going?
Man, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm great. And I'm so excited to see all these people posting in the comments.
Serious.
Um, let's say hi to everybody there. I see my mom is in there. Kit is in there. It looks like Connecting with Birds and Nature Tours
Yep.
LLC is there. That's your
Yep.
family
Yeah,
birding
Christy's
spot,
in here.
right?
His wife Christy. Yeah, the family showed up.
Awesome. That is so exciting. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you today. I found out about you on Instagram, and I'll just go ahead and share your Instagram right here for everybody. And so I found out about you on there and saw that you were teaching this nature journaling and birding class. So it sounds like you're doing landscape painting, birding, and nature journaling. That is all really awesome. Maybe you could, just to get people's excitement flowing, you could describe like what would your ideal birding trip be like?
Oh gosh. Well, me, I'm an early bird, so it has to be like before the sun's come up. Like en route to go. Uh, got my equipment with me. I got my journal, my paints, everything, all in my backpack, good to go. And I just like to see when the sun just comes up and wherever, and just nature's just started to wake up. You hear the bird sounds. Um, my preference was like I gotta be like in some heavy wooded area. There's just something about being around a lot of tall trees. It's just amazing to me. It's almost one of those things where it reminds you of those storybooks where you read about the kid goes on this imagination and he goes to these woods and meets all these creatures and everything. But my perfect tour would be just to go out there and just be in the moment. Don't be in a rush. Hopefully, see some rare birds out there. But if not, there's beauty in everything. So I just wanted to be out there and just soak it all up. And I just want to make sure I just come out of this whole experience with at least one journal entry. That's the goal. If I can do
Nice.
that, it's a good day.
Nice. And so you like to be there early, huh, when the birds are first
Oh yeah.
waking up?
Yeah. If I get
Okay.
there around 9 o'clock, it's too late. That's like, oh, I should have been here at 7, 6:30 or something. I should have been out here during that time because you just get a different experience early than you would any other time of the day. And I've always been an early bird, so I'm out there.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's a good one. So, on your artist statement on your website, it says, "It is my calling to see beauty in common places and capture the scene." Could you like describe a little bit what you mean about seeing beauty in common places?
Sure. I'm kind of the oddball to where I will see something that people just totally pass by, don't care much about, and I'll just look at it like, man, that could be a painting, that could be something beautiful. And most of the time, it's always something old, rusty. I'm just I have an old soul. I'm 38 years old, but my soul is probably like 75. I just love to see that, and I just connect to the older generation more. And I just kind of look at things from the standpoint like how long it's been out here, who are the people that pass by here. If it's an old building, who owned this old store. I'm getting like all these stories just running in the background in my mind, and I just want to know more about it. One good person, a friend, he actually called me like, "You're like an art historian. It's like you're a historian, but you use art to capture it and keep it with you." And I was like, "I want to steal that, I want to be known by that." And I just see things that are just the more out of ordinary it is, the better. I have a great friend. She's kind of like my partner in crime for as art is concerned. And I took a picture of this old rusty hinge, and she just said, "Only you will find this attractive enough to take a picture of." And I just thought that was the best thing anybody could say to me is like, "Thank you." It's like, yeah, you know how I work. You know that, oh gosh, yeah, Tim will love this dilapidated building over here falling out into the vines growing on through it. Like he'll totally see that as a beautiful thing. And they're right, I would. It's hard to travel certain roads, no one knows county roads, and not almost wreck because I'm too busy goosenecking trying to see what I can take a picture
Yeah.
of real quick.
Yeah, that's how I am with I'm usually consider myself a very good driver, but if there's like starling murmurations certain times of years in the vineyards where I live, then I like look over and I'm like, "Oh, the birds are doing that thing," and it's like I have to look over there. Yeah, that's really cool. So I think that connects. I think a lot of nature journalers resonate with that because, this idea that even though like a lot of people want to go to these like exotic places to look at nature or to look at birds, I feel like there are ways to, appreciate the really basic things that are in our very own backyard. Or, like John Muir Laws, who's one of the big nature journaling teachers, he talked about, like, in your refrigerator, you can find nature, and you can find amazing things like in the grass lawn in your backyard. So on that note, I remember you posted, and I feel like that's something that with birding, it doesn't always correlate. So like, you posted a thing where you had a turkey vulture in your backyard, and I
Yes,
feel like a lot of birders are like, as soon as they're like, oh, TV, they look away. They're like, it's a turkey vulture or it's a robin. It's boring, and they look on. So like, do you feel like I mean, why aren't more people into the turkey vultures, or like, why are these trash birds, like, how come in birding that's a thing? Or like, or maybe I'm wrong. Convince me if I'm wrong.
no, a lot of stuff I had to say is, you got to blame some cartoons because, usually there's like a cartoon of a vulture, they're toned as evil, like, oh, they cackle and laugh at you, kind of like the hyenas on the Lion King. It's like, oh, they're the bad guys. And you almost taught that at an early age, like, oh, they just, they scavenge around, they just eat a bunch of dead stuff on the road, they're dirty, they're nasty, and they get that they label that. And then, it's like, but they're doing their work also. I mean, can you imagine what would it be like if we didn't have them around? Dead carcasses piled to up to the ceiling. So they do their work. But when I saw that thing, it was all I saw was his wings, and I just knew that out of the corner, like, that is a huge bird, whatever that is. And there it was. And, I was just fascinated by it. I was like, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. I got brave enough to go outside with it from a distance. I got the nice zoom camera on my phone, so I got close enough, but not too close, whatever, to see him. That bird is huge. But like I said, at the
Yeah.
same time, it has its own beauty about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's really cool. Could you share some of your bird art, or
Sure
I
can.
know that you do some paintings and pastels of birds.
I
People
have.
love seeing stuff, so
Well, here's my nature journal. I love these old books. It feels like it's something that Indiana Jones would carry with him.
uh-huh.
But here is oh, where you are. There you are. This is an eastern kingbird. And this is what we saw on one of the bird nature tours at the farm. And he was hanging out on the wire, flying around eating mosquitoes out of midair. And I just managed to get a quick shot with my camera because I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely going to come back home and paint this guy. And there's so many of them in here, and I just love to keep like little facts about what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about having fun. I know a lot of people will say, "Well, Tim, you're really good at art," and they may say, "Well, I'm not that good at it." No one said you had to be. It's just enjoying the moment, just getting your paints. I can run outside with one of these. I'll open it up, and here goes. My paints are inside.
Uh-huh.
And I just take my brush and just have fun. Just document. Just think about the color shapes. Don't get bogged down with details, and you'll have a much better experience. I really believe that a lot of reason why some people don't love art because they're too busy comparing themselves to someone else. You
Mm.
know, paint like you paint. Don't paint like me. Don't paint like anyone else. Uh, be free. When you're a child, or if you see a child and you give them a box of crayons, they don't care who thinks. What and they just go into town where they're not worried about being inside the lines. They're not worried about your opinion. And, along the way, we lose that. We start
Yeah.
into what people think your art should be like. And then you find out you don't love anymore because you just totally lost your voice there. So
Yeah.
I just love going out here because it's like a hunt, like the deer hunter or whoever's going out there or a photographer. You're going out there is look for this thing. I don't know when I'll see it, but I'll know it when I see it. And then when it hits you, that's the reason why I came out
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like your sound is breaking up a little bit there. I'm not sure what that is, but I love that point about the comparison. So tell me about this. You taught a nature journaling class. I can't remember if it was with the Autobahn, a branch of the Autobahn or something. Could you talk a
here.
little bit about that
Yes,
class?
Alabama Audubon, they've been awesome to us.
Hmm.
It's been like 2 years now since they worked with the Joe Farm and got the bird nature tours. But I'm also a part of the faculty, and what
Hmm.
I teach there is bird and nature journaling, where I take students by Zoom, and we go and I'll teach them the basics. I'll teach them what colors to buy, the brushes that I use. Uh,
Hmm.
I work with them on an individual scale to where I listen to, well, why you want to learn this, or what brought you here. And since the COVID-19 thing hits, a lot of people's like, I used to paint, I used to love art, and I stopped, and now that I can't go
Yeah.
anywhere, I want to get back with it again. It's almost like saying hello to an old friend you just been calling a long time. And I was like, you know what? I'll do everything I can to get you back on track so you can go on and continue where you left off. And
Hmm.
they've been really amazing students. They had great questions. I'll take them through the exercises. You know, I make sure I know, tell them what this thing is. Like they'll know the color wheel. And not only do I want to just you know help them with painting, but like I like to give little things to well, I won't say things to live by, but I'll say things to them to kind of keep them encouraged, and a lot of them were just, I'm just tired of hearing what's going on in the news. I'm tired of hearing all the bad stuff that's going on in the world. And it's like, it's so, and a lot of them said that it was so bad, they just can't watch TV. They just can't
Yeah.
because it brings them down so bad. And I said,
Hmm.
well, if anything can lift you up, art can, just like music and anything else. The arts is super important, even though it doesn't get as much attention as some other things do.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. Could you share some of your other, like your landscape art, and show us some, give us, like, give people at home. I mean, I've looked at your Instagram a bunch and your artist page, but yeah, let's show people some more of what you're up to.
Okay, I'd like to share this with you. This is a chimney swift tower,
Mm.
and there's a bird called the chimney swift, and and it lives in what you call like a chimney.
Hmm.
And we are actually working with Alabama Audubon to build these things,
Oh,
not just
wow.
at the Joe Farm, but there's spots in Birmingham where if you go there with nightfall, so hundreds and hundreds of chimney swifts will just start circling around the chimney, and they all will funnel in that thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see what they do there, and for me, I have two journals actually. This is not the same journal as before, but
Hmm.
I have nature journaling, and I also have another journal for my landscapes. And this is where I like to document the places I visit.
Hmm.
And here's one entry. I just happen to be in an alley. Of course, I hang around in alleys, which I don't always recommend. But I was in there and I saw these old propane tanks and things like
Uh-huh.
that. Nature and like I said, finding beauty and a bunch of old rusted things is, I think that's what I'm gonna be known for after I'm
So
gone.
is that still water? Is that all? Has that been watercolor the last two, or someone in
Um,
the comments asking
oh, okay. I'm glad you asked that. The last one I had, the water tanks, this is
and the
watercolor.
chimney one?
The chimney one is called gouache, and gouache is
Okay.
a opaque watercolor.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I love working with gouache. It's very forgiving. It dries fast. I mean, I do oil paints too on in plein air or outdoor painting, but it's
Hmm.
nothing like just grabbing some gouache and if you make a mistake, you can paint right over it. No one will know. And I just love the way, especially on rough paper, the look of it. Now, this
Oh
is
yeah, okay. That's
I love
what's
those
okay.
old shotgun houses that you may see in these old rural towns. This one I saw in
Yeah,
Troy, Alabama. And I just like to keep these things because these little buildings, you have to remember, they may not be around in another 10, 15 years. They may be gone.
yeah,
So I kind of left that as my mission to gather as much as I could while they're still standing. Because
yeah.
my idea is to keep those things alive. And when somebody asks me, well, why'd you paint that? Or what's the story behind this one? Then I always say, you fell into my trap. Now I can tell you the, the story about it.
Uh-huh.
It's always art can be used to educate. And I learned that back in 2014. That's like, hey, I can really educate people on what's going on just by doing a simple painting of it. And it's just been amazing ever since then.
So what happened in 2014 that that turned you on to that?
It was my turning point, I'll call it, to where I was in Demopolis, Alabama, which is, near my hometown, like 20 miles away. Old town, been around since like the early 1900s. But we had a art festival there, and I drove all the way from Huntsville, Alabama, down there, which is like 3 hours and some change. And it was cold, it was overcast, it was 30 some degrees, it was windy, and I only sold one item for $10, and I just felt terrible. Like I just wanted to, I was slowly dying inside. But I went through that experience, and I always want to try and make lemonades out of the lemons I've been given. And I was just determined, and I'm just thankful that I had the mindset like I'm not leaving here empty handed. I may not came down here to make the money I wanted, but there's something to be taken from this experience, and I'm gonna find it. that's that's all it was. I'm gonna find this thing, and I turn around and I see this old building next to the railroad tracks, and it's one of those old school, huge, rusty awning, old the paint's peeling off the bricks and everything like that. And I just wanted to know more about it because like I want to paint it, but I couldn't paint it and do it justice without learning more about it. It's like something inside me would not let me paint it without pure satisfaction until I know its history. So I went through the historical group in Demopolis. This person told me to call this person, and that person told me to call this person, and it led me to a woman who's the president of the archival museum there. And they told me his whole history. And once I done that and did my painting, I showed it to the president saying, like, this is, thank you for letting me be able to do this thing. And she said, would you like to do an art show for us? And they gave me my first solo art exhibit in June 2015. And so, and rest was history because they had a nice little sized crowd to come out, and I had all the paintings of their town, and it's amazing because to see them walk around, say, "Oh, I know where that is," and you can hear them talking about my art and who was there, and how their grandfather or a parent took them here to get candy. The store is still closed down; it's falling apart, but they just bring back all those memories to them, and I was like, this is what art's supposed to do. Before, I only painted because I was good at it. Growing up through school and everything, I just did it because I was good, but I didn't have a voice or a mission with it until then.
Yeah, the word that comes to my mind is meaning, and it seems like having like a meaning attached to the visual part is really important to you. And this seems so similar to nature journaling in a lot of ways. So like, do you feel like it's possible to, because it seems like, you know, um, these buildings have this story behind them, and the story is
Mm-hmm.
connected to place. And a lot of times, like birds or animals, or even like I love painting old trees. Like they have this like connection to a place or like certain species of animals. Like, do you feel like nature journaling can do a similar thing? It sounds like you really had like this community kind of response that people saw your work and were like, it made them like connect to their memories and connect to these subjects. Like, do you think nature journaling can do something like that and work as a tool to help people connect to nature?
It can, because the amazing thing about nature journaling, just like when you're painting any particular subject matter, that connection starts where it be a particular bird. At the birds and nature tours, the swallowtail kite is like kind of like the mascot of the
Mm-hmm.
entire tour. Him, and along with the Mississippi kite, and seeing them fly around like that while he's in the tractor and they're swooping up bugs left and right. I mean, they're aerial acrobats, and it's just amazing to see them at work. And it's just you get captivated in that, and all I could think about, I'm gonna paint that thing when I get the chance. And when you paint it, it's like you're almost kind of dropping an anchor where it's like you study the animal, you're looking at the colors, the composition, how you lay it out on your paper, and it's like it gives you a more satisfaction to know that there's something out there that's it's kind of like you take home with you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
all these things in my journal. When I go and turn each page, I'm reading the notes I made about, oh, I was here, it was this day, it was this cold or hot, and this is how it made me feel. Just this simple brown thrasher that was in my yard eating seeds. I just, I just put a little thing. I got fancy and put in like the polar coordinates, but
Yeah,
it just
nice.
it's just something cool to where you can just say, when next time I see a brown thrasher, I'm gonna think about this, and I'm gonna think about and what it was doing. And nature journaling is so amazing because you can take something you may be passionate about. You can probably take an animal that a lot of people don't care much for. I'm not a huge fan of spiders, but at the same time,
Oh,
somebody else is. And then they might be like, well, I'm gonna draw this these spiders that we see all around the farm and everything like that. And you can make it to where you can take these simple techniques, pay attention to your colors, your art equipment, and you can make something beautiful out of it. And you're like, I may not be such a fan of them, but I can tolerate it much better now.
hell
Just because I sell it, so yeah, it could do so much. And no, I just want people to like, get out of the whole fear of like I'm not good enough.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Because I see it's like you're really holding back progress because you're not sharing that gift that you were given. with the world because we need to see, we need to see some good things now more than ever.
Yeah, I love the word that you use, the word anchor, and I love that idea of like a painting or a nature journal page or whatever being like an anchor to like a thing in a landscape.
Yes.
That's super cool. And I don't know if you're mentioning spiders because you know that
Oh, you got me.
nature journal spiders. I
I
mean,
mean, if you can
you
put one up there, I'm not gonna jump or anything.
okay. Well, I mean, like just like the other day, I was like, I have a pet tarantula, and like I
Oh
was
wow.
journaling it. So, but you have your artist mission, and one of my missions is to help people like not be afraid of spiders and snakes and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I love that that anchor concept. Okay, so now we can be preaching to the choir a lot here, but like for people, for example, who are just birders
Hmm.
and that aren't doing any nature journaling or any art or they're not trying to draw birds at all. Maybe they're doing photography because a lot of birders do photography. Like, what would you tell a birder? And you've probably already have this speech all ready to go, but like, what do you tell birders to like convince them that like drawing and painting or nature journaling the birds is going to make them a better birder?
Oh man. It goes back to observation. Now, not to knock my photographer friends out there, it's great to be able to find that perfect frame and you snap that picture and it's like you have it frozen in time forever. But that's like a split second. But when you're nature journaling, I like to paint maybe like hour, hour and a half. If it gets to where it's almost close to 2 hours, I paint it too long. And it's like I'm studying the, mixing my paints. I'm like, okay, I see a cardinal there, but you don't just automatically just grab the bright fire red engine paint and paint them.
Uh-huh.
It's like, I need to make the different shades of red, like the lighting effect, the shadows, and you're doing all this studying and calculating in your head about how I can make this thing I see in a three-dimensional world, put it on a flat piece of paper, and still convince you that's a cardinal.
Yeah.
And you have to break it out into simple shapes and do your little simple little circles for the head, circle for the body, the two little twigs for the feet, and you go from there. But once you do all that, it's like you have a much better understanding of it because you worked and you labored over this thing to create it, and it means something more to me after I paint a picture of a bird than I had before. It's like I have a new appreciation because, you know, me painting the swallowtail kite, it's like it's not as simple as it looks, even though it doesn't have as many colors as, a painted bunting or anything of that nature, but you still have to pay attention to its wings, does it look natural? And then using all the art techniques to make it look as convincing as possible. So you walk away with a much better understanding. And now when I see these birds in real life, my eyes like snap to it in the split second. It's like I know what it is because I painted it. I remember mixing that color to make his wings. I remember everything, and it almost makes you to the point where you just by instinct you will just notice birds and be able to call them out.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, that seems like that's like almost like a superpower for birders. I can't. Why do you think more birders aren't doing that?
Uh, you know, I don't consider myself to be a super birder, but it's just like in the beginning, it's like I guess you're still taken back to the fact like, oh, I got to know everything as soon as I
Mm,
see it, and it's like they want to get to the finish line instead of enjoying the journey when you first
mm,
starting out, and you might get your turkey vulture confused with a black vulture, you might get little mix
mhm,
ups and things like that, but it's like really take your time and really look at what's out there. And I know some birders, when they're first starting off, may say, I'm just after this one particular bird. If I've seen it, it's a wrap. Check,
mhm,
it's on your bucket list or something. And it's like now it's like any bird is special. I
mm,
know I see the mockingbird all the time. He's always bullying the other birds at my bird feeder. But it's like, even even it has its place. But it's like I just appreciate any type of bird now. It broadens my understanding of like this is nature. They're out there doing what they have to do to survive and everything. And it really was therapeutic for me because I started to have my bird feeders out there after the lockdown happened. So I'm like,
mm.
I can't go on bird tours. I can't do this. And you almost start feeling depressed if you're not
Yeah.
careful. And me and the kids like, well, let's bring the birds to us. So,
Mm,
so we put the bird feed out there, and it took them a while to show up, but now they're eating me out bird seeds left and right now. They're
mhm.
really have taken over my yard. But you used to be amazed about how just as a birder, just pay attention to whatever you see out there. I don't believe anything is by accident. If you go out there looking for a particular bird, but you see something else in its place, get to know it. It's there for a reason. You don't have to
Mhm.
feel like, if I didn't see a bald eagle at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the day was a failure. Well, you may not have seen that, but you've seen like 5 turkey vultures flying over your head. You've seen maybe a wood stork or something like that. Be thankful for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna show. That's really. I love that perspective, and I'm gonna show a little love to some of our viewers here, and share some of these comments. Kit
Okay.
Dunsmore right here, sort of mirroring your statement, Tim. And
Yes.
then Gene also had a similar one. Enjoy the journey. And then also, I want to share this one here. Mary E saw one of those chimneys, because I didn't know that was a thing. We
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have chimney swifts out here, but we have a similar species, and there's like a couple places and where there's structures that they go to, old chimneys, and this was the first year in 5 years I didn't get a go because it was closed because of COVID. But I didn't know that people were building structures that could attract them. So sounds like Mary E saw one of those, um, and that's really cool. And then just wanted to share Andrew Rosales. Really excited about you being on the show.
Thank you.
And yeah, so thanks everybody who's commenting there. Please let us know what's going on. Um, and it looks like your brother is on here chatting with Kit. So why don't we say a little bit, since maybe now is a good time to talk about your farm and what you got going on there with the birds and nature tours.
Okay. Yes. Well, third generation Black Angus farm. My dad taking over after my grandparents passed. He used to haul us out there all the time on Saturdays when we were to be watching cartoons and stuff like that. We're out there tagging cows, putting up fence posts, putting up barbed wire, you know, being out there from sun up to sundown. There was no clock. There was no 8 hours or 6 hours of work. It was long as the sunlight was out, you're working. And and I hated it then, but now I appreciate it because it taught us a lot about work ethic and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But my brother, he got hooked up with some people from Alabama Audubon, the tourism thing, and learned that hey, there are people who were willing to come down to pay to come to a private property so they can go birding in peace. And I was like, well, we can do that. It's 200 acres. We got deep wooded area, black I love, open pastures, got streams. You can go out there and just pretty much get lost in nature. There's 6 miles of hiking that you can do. We have 2 tractors running. We got a trailer that my brother got a grant for. It's wheelchair accessible. So
Oh,
please, that's a
nice.
big deal because it's sad that people are disabled and they want to get out in nature. They want to enjoy the
Yeah,
things that, you know, they're not disabled, you just enjoy no matter what.
yeah,
But
yeah.
they was like, no, we can let the tailgate down. We can wheel you up there. You'll be fine. You can go out and enjoy nature just like anybody else. And we just want to make sure that everybody can have a safe place to go to. No one to harass you. And just enjoy yourself. You can stay there as long as you want to. We have so many people to come by that they just kept thanking us from when they first came there, when they leave, like, oh, thank you for allowing us. I'm like, y'all welcome. Yeah, it's that Southern hospitality. You welcome, we'll feed you, we'll provide food, my wife and my brother's wives and where they get together and they make sandwiches and sell them for $7, whole combo and everything, because we want you to feel like you're at home with us. And so we start off the morning, we'll give you a little pamphlet, we give you a map, you know, we have vendors there. I sell my art there, bird nature. If you want to go journal it with me, you certainly can do that. And we're just having a blast. I mean, we had 120 people that show up in 2019 in July at the farm, and that's probably the
Wow.
most people we've seen there ever because that part of Alabama is very poor. It's mostly
Mhm.
black demographic there, and to do something to bring the attention to that area that's been long forgotten is it's an amazing thing.
I just want to share this. I don't actually know this person's name because they're posting on Facebook, and sometimes their name doesn't come through. But they said they're coming, so I want to go. I want to go too, and I love the idea that the trailer idea for people with disabilities, and I think that is so important, and that's something that we've learned about a lot during COVID is that there's a lot of people who like right now they're like, hey, you're making, John Muir Laws is on Zoom. Marley's making all of these things. All the Melinda Nakagawa, Ivea, all these people are making all this nature journaling stuff for people to watch online. And before COVID, a lot of these people were doing field trips out in the field, going on hikes and stuff like that. And so, a lot of people who can't get out of their house or aren't able to get out of their house for whatever reason, they're like, hey, this is great. And, I think it's important for us to like recognize that. And when COVID is over, not just to forget about those people. So I think
Right.
that's so cool that, at your place, it's possible for people in wheelchairs or whatever to get out there. Cause that's really great. Making things more accessible.
Right. 'Cause
Um,
recently, we just added a bird feeding station right there on the front of the property. So if you don't want to travel out to the woods or travel out to far pastures, we got plenty of birds that are like right there, eating from like 6, 7 different feeders, um,
mhm.
right there. So it's like it gives you something to look at, even if you may not choose to go on a tractor. I mean, I've led plenty on foot expeditions out to the woods and or in the pasture. Some people may not want to be on the tractor or the trailer. They rather go on foot. I was like, well, we'll go this pasture. Some of you go on that pasture, and we're not gonna rush you. If you want to stay around, take pictures. We got stories out there. You might see a deer or two. Um, it's just one of those things like leave all that stuff that's bugging you, leave it outside the gate of the farm, come in here and just like let's just be about nature and just just being good people and enjoying what's around us.
Yeah, that's really great. And so I think right now we're getting ready to segue into a conversation that I have not seen come up in the nature journaling community enough.
Okay.
And we talked about this on the phone, and we talked about this just now before starting our conversation tonight. But a lot of people in the nature journaling community are white, and it's not a super diverse community. And I think you've seen that in the birding community as well, and the representation is also like problematic. And then also in other nature hobbies and also in other artistic hobbies, a lot of times it seems like there's a lack of representation or there's a lack of diversity, maybe a lack of awareness going on there. So what has your experience been as an artist and as a birder, as someone who loves the outdoors? What has your experience been as a Black man in the United States of America, pursuing those hobbies, and how has how has that been different for you?
Okay. Well, it's just growing through school. I was like you know, the there only like a couple of Black people in each class, so it's maybe like 90% white and just the rest be Black. So I'm used to being like the only Black person in the group to do anything all the time, whether it be in high school, even on the job, but definitely in the art area. I'll probably be the only Black male there. There may be other Black people there, but as far as like a Black man, it's me and the rest are white. Now, I'm not knocking that, but it's just sometimes to me like I feel out of place. Like, should I even be here? And, somebody may think I'm lost or something. And but I'm there with all my art equipment, so they can kind of tell that okay, he's here to paint too. But it is kind of self-conscious because I still go into a place where I kind of count as many Black people in the room before I feel comfortable. I mean, I kind of go out with a certain amount of guard up, and the more comfortable I feel, I'll bring the guard down, because there are protocols that I live by before I go out to paint. Plein air painting, I have to go outside by myself most of the time. I may have a friend or two that be with me, but they're white, but it's okay. And I'll go outside and I'm like, okay, where's my artist apron? I got my artist apron. I got my easel. I got my sketchbook. So no one can point to say, hey, that guy's up to no good because I'm sitting here with a bunch of colors in my hand. It's almost like, oh, okay, he's cool. He's just painting. No big deal. but it does stay in the back of my mind, my safety. I got a wife and 2 kids, and I would love to get back to them safely. Um, I'm pretty sure sometimes my wife will worry saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna paint, but I'm gonna go in the alley somewhere and do it."
Mhm.
And yeah, I have to be mindful of my surroundings and things of that nature. But as far as diversity, I think a reason for that is because with the exposure. Um, Me, I grew up on Alabama public television, watching Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers. I grew up around all that stuff. And I like watching nature. And, even though I may not see people that look like me, it seemed like my love for the animals kind of overseeded that. I didn't look at it as much.
Mhm.
But as I got older, I was like, why are there more people like me into this thing? One, either they were not told about it or they were not exposed to it. And sometimes you catch them, I hate to say this, where I was looked at as like, oh, you're trying to be white, Tim. You're all about nature. You're all about going outside, and that's not a black thing. It's a white thing, and that really cut me pretty deep because why can't I go outside and enjoy nature? I go outside at 6 o'clock in the morning and walk around my house or my parents' house and just like to explore, look at trees and different things like that. But that was considered either being a nerd or that's not cool, you're a bookworm, and that was all those things. But you know what else, like I had the determination why I wasn't gonna let that sway me to be anything than what I love. But it's a lot of stuff out there where people don't feel comfortable enough. There may be a black person and they want to go nature journey, but they're too scared to go out because they don't know if they're gonna be fingered or pointed out for whatever reason. And a fear is it's rampant. I mean, it's a real thing. um, if you remember the Terminator movie, and you'll see through the eyes of the Terminator, he see those directives that he has to
Yeah,
do for Sarah Connor or whatever.
yeah, yeah,
I have those things like don't look suspicious, don't wear a hoodie, you know,
yeah,
make eye contact, do as much as I possibly can to let you know that I'm not a threat, even though I shouldn't have to.
yeah, exactly.
I still have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so those, that just adds to it because thank you so much, I mean, for sharing all those things. And like the having to think about all of those directives and all of that before going out and nature journaling, that just adds to a list that, even if you have all of the privilege, like you're a white man and you look a certain way or whatever, or have all of the stacked privileges, there's still some things for nature journaling. Like I call it friction. Like, how many zippers do you have to go through to get to your art supplies? Like the more zippers, the longer it is before you get to your sketchbook, the less likely you're going to actually pull it out and make a drawing. Like
Mhm.
you might just say, no, maybe not today. But it's like what you're talking about is like we're talking about like a way more levels that you have to go through to actually get there. And so it sounds like you had such a strong motivation that those layers weren't enough to stop you from going outside of your comfort zone and go pushing through all of those things and having to think about all those directives, much less having to think about like what art supplies you're going to use, right?
Yes. There's certain materials that I'll use, like my oil paints, take more time to set up. I had to go through more to get the oil paints, but if I could use like my sketchbook and my gouache paints, which I have here,
Yeah.
it's like it's almost like doing a drive by. It's like I drive by something, I see it,
Yep.
get out of
For
the car,
sure.
paint, get done in an hour, get out of there. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, like somebody's chasing you.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed because there've been people who will see me and they say, "Oh wow, can I see what you're doing?" And they're super sweet about it. And I'm thankful, and I'm thankful I don't have any horror stories, but whether the horse is coming out, it's always in the back of my mind. It's like it never
Right.
really truly goes away. I mean, all
Yeah.
it takes is for somebody to say what they think I'm doing, and
Yeah.
then here we
Exactly.
go again.
Yeah.
I'm like I said, I got 2 kids and a wife to come home to, and I was like, what if something were to happen to me?
Hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why I like to go to the Joe farm. Is like, you can't hurt me over here. This is my territory, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. We have enough out here to where I can get a painting done. But
Hmm.
guess what? The farm is 3 hours away from me here in Huntsville, Alabama. So
Yeah.
it's like now being in Huntsville, I have to go to places where I won't look suspicious or
Yeah.
like where
Yeah.
there's a lot of people around me. I can just blend in, sit at a bench and paint. But some
Yeah.
of the stuff I truly want to paint, like the little dilapidated old store in the middle of nowhere, I want it, but I can't paint it because first of all, I feel exposed. And I'm out here in the middle of nowhere with this building in front of me and I'm painting it. It's like people driving back and forth the road. It's like all it takes for somebody to get out of a car and start asking questions, and
Yeah.
it leads to a bad situation. So I had
Yeah.
to tell
Yeah.
them,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
crazy. I'm gonna share a couple just to show some love here in the comment section. The Facebook user who said that they wanted to come to your farm already.
Mhm.
Della Luna is their name, and she is black. Assuming she's a she. Thank you, Della Luna, for commenting. You got all the information now to check out the Joe Farm. Hope you can make it. And then I also want to share Ivea's comment here. Ivea is relating to what you're saying.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Ivea. Ivea is an awesome member of the nature journaling community too, so really appreciate her. Um, Let me share my mom. I gotta share my mom's
Oh,
comment.
okay. Oh, I appreciate that.
Oh, she likes your smile too.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, mom. Yeah, okay. Well, let's keep going on this. I know, I've been sort of apprehensive about like I knew we had to talk about this in the nature journaling community and all of that. So, how about like so you shared a little bit about your experience and how there's like even places. Sorry, I'm eating a little chocolate over here.
Oh no, that's cool.
Like I'm already super energized, but um, so you shared some of your experiences and how there's even times and there's certain places where you're like, oh, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
Because you know that might be a not a good situation because of racism. So let me just ask you this. Like I think like 8 months ago, everybody was talking about this kind of stuff, and there was like Black Birders Week. Why did we have to have Black Birders Week? Like, why was that a thing?
Okay, because after what happened with Chris Cooper and him birding, and you know, I'll try to keep my blood pressure down because it's like that lady was basically trying to get that man killed.
Mm-hmm.
And people say, "Oh, it's no big deal." Me as a black man, if that would happen, I will fear for my life. I'll start thinking about my wife. I'll start thinking about my kids, and I'm like, they're not gonna have their dad or husband to come home because either I'm gonna be in jail or probably dead. And it's one of those things where in the black community, it's like something that somebody been tell you forever and forever and forever, and then somebody finally says, "Oh, I guess they are, reason to be suspicious." Like, thank you. Like somebody finally said it. We've been saying this for decades. Like I can't go certain places that you can go to, and it's just because of the color that's on my face. That's the only reason. And what really hurt me is that I had to teach that to my 10-year-old son, Caleb.
Yeah.
And he's an innocent, handsome little boy, and it's like beautiful black skin. And I just told him, like, Caleb, you are a sweet little boy, but guess what? All they're gonna see is this right here. And I touched his little face, and he had the confused face, like, but I didn't do anything wrong. I know you didn't. Why would they say that? Because of this. And it's like I was just trying to make that connection. Not everybody sees people the same way. Like I love people no matter what color you are. We've been taught that, God made everybody, love your neighbor as you love yourself. I grew up on that and I taught them that. But I was like, but Caleb, it doesn't work across the board. When they see this, they think it's somebody, I better clutch my purse tighter. I better get ready to call police, especially if you get angry. If a black man gets angry, they call the cavalry.
Mm-hmm.
And then a person who's white can get angry and nothing happens. And and I told him all the stories that had been going on in the news, and he just so confused, like, but why is this happening? And I
Yeah.
just told, I was blunt with. I was like, Caleb, there's just evil in this world. There's evil in people's hearts that make them think less of a person because of the color of their skin, and all you can do is pray for them, and maybe they'll change their ways or something like that. And we were fighting back tears or whatever. He was just looking at me like, why am I so upset? And I just had to warn him beforehand, like, you will experience this. It's going to come to you one form or another. It may not be as blunt as what happened to Chris Cooper. It may be the slight little glance or something, the little quick little things that say, well, okay, I said hello to this lady and she just
Yeah.
kind of looked at me like I was crazy. And it happens a lot. I remember growing up through school, and I was taught to be kind, and being a southerner, you speak to people. If I'm walking by you and we make eye contact, how you doing? Good morning. I'll say good morning, and just kind of walk by and kind of look at me side eye. I'm like, I mean, okay. I used to let that bother me, but now it's a point. It's like, you know what? All I can do is what my actions are. If I be
Yeah,
kind to somebody, whether they give that back or not, it's not up to me. When people meet me, I treat you right. I'll be kind to you, this, that, and the other. Whether you be kind to me or not, it doesn't matter. It won't influence me one way or the other. So
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's,
Okay,
it's
that's okay. Thanks for sharing that, and that's so heartfelt. The whole thing about sharing, having to explain that with your son, and I've heard from other people, that lesson for a young black man, to at that age to get that from their parent. I've heard of other people having to give that talk, and that's just like at that age, it's like it's hard for those things to make sense. So I'm just gonna I think most people probably know about it, but I'm just gonna share a little video clip about Chris Cooper, his experience birding in being harassed you know in New York. So I'm just going to share that real quick, and then we'll come back and discuss that. So let me just do a quick screen share here, um,
okay.
and let people see that. I think a lot of people have already probably seen this clip before, but let's just play this real quick.
She did was unacceptable
Um,
and wants to apologize.
Please don't come close to me. Please don't come close to me.
It's a Central Park confrontation marked with racial undertones that's gone viral.
Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African American man threatening my life.
At some point, she decided that, I'm going to play the race card, I guess.
Christian Cooper, an avid bird watcher, says he started recording after telling the woman her dog needed to be leashed at all times in an area known as the Ramble in Central Park.
If the habitat is destroyed, we won't be able to go there to see birds, to enjoy the plantings.
When the woman refused, he offered the dog a treat.
The only way they can keep the dog from eating the treats is put it on the leash.
That's when, he says, she roughly grabbed the dog by the collar, told him to stop recording, and called police, referring several times to being threatened by, quote, an African-American man.
There is an African American man. I am in Central Park. He's recording me.
all right. Well, I think that's probably enough of that. Yeah. So I mean, I think what is your what do you think people I mean, one of the things that I thought was very interesting about this that Chris Cooper said in later interviews is he said this woman considered herself a liberal, and like if you asked her if she was a racist before this, what she would have said no. So like he said, this is such an unconscious thing. Like, what do you think about that? And like, how can white people who enjoy nature or are out in nature, how can people just be like more aware of that?
And that's something that you really have to look underneath the surface, because some of these things has been taught, passed down to where it's almost a muscle memory, and it's like something that you're not aware of doing. Like how some people may wipe their hand across their face, they do it without thinking it, they just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that it has to be almost for somebody to actually bring it to your attention. Like some people say, oh, you smack when you, oh, I didn't know, and they're doing that because they're not aware of it. And that's something to where people say, oh, I'm not racist, this, but then it's like you're showing signs of it, like these undertones where it's like, oh, somebody's on welfare, it must be black, or somebody's a drug dealer, must be black. And I remember growing up in this town I was, it's half and half, whites and blacks, but I'll see the Confederate flags on the back of trucks. I'll see all these things, and I remember we was doing a play, and we was teaching. The teacher was trying to teach us about saying no to drugs, and we were supposed to play the part. And one of the white girls who was there said, like, "Oh, I think Tim Joe should play. He looks like a drug dealer."
Oh no.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I was like, maybe like 10, 11 years old. And it's like, I can, like, what's she talking about? Why do I look like the drug dealer? And it's like, and me being that age, I was blind to it. I was like a super naive kid because I was thinking like, we treat people right, no matter what color you are, and that's what I know. But then I didn't realize I was kind of hit with that back then. But now when I look back on, I was like, hey, that's not right. And that's the stuff that need to be called out. But you got to do it in a kind of like in a loving manner, I would
Yeah.
say. Um, watching that video again, it made me upset all over again. But it's at the same time, like I wanted to be able to control your anger. It's like because if you start, getting belligerent and loud and this, that, and the other, now you're gonna be seen as more threatening. And
Yeah.
guess, and I can only can imagine what would have happened to Chris if he did not record that. If it was just
Yeah.
her word against his, who do you think
Right.
they'll believe?
Exactly.
And and all I could do was just put myself in his shoes. I love birding. I love going to nature. What if that was me out there sketching birds or sketching this, and then you know, I get kind of antsy when people dogs around because I don't know if they're gonna attack me or not. And what if I would have done that? She'd be calling somebody on me. So it's heartbreaking, but if people just started to acknowledge that this thing exists, that's the huge issue because you'll get around and my wife tell me not to read the comments when things like that because there'll be people on both sides
Yeah.
fussing. But somebody say, "Oh, they just playing a race card. They're always playing the victim. Black people always playing the victim. They've been doing it for years." And I'm like, first of all, if you were to walk a mile in this skin I'm in, you'll be seen as different. You'll be wondering, well, what's going on? So, and it's because we're trying to protect ourselves. I mean, when this thing was going on, I felt like a deer when deer season's open. Not only
Hmm.
is deer season open, it's black season open. Like you can kill a black dude and pretty much get away with it, and it's okay. And that's how it felt. And it was like I was scared for not just me, but I was scared for my son. It's like, well, since COVID shut things down, it's not like I was like, oh, okay, let's go to a game or let's go here and do this. I had my eyes on him like a hawk throughout the whole event. I'm looking at him more than the event. If he need to go to the restroom, I'm walking right there next to him. And my daughter, I'm right there. I'm like in arm's length of them because I don't know what somebody might try to do. And just I don't want to live in fear, but at the same time, like you gotta be cautious. You gotta be aware of your surroundings. And if there is altercation, don't be the one that's being like angry, can't be reasoned with. I like how Chris handled it. He was being kind. He didn't raise his voice because I know if he would have raised his voice, it would have escalated probably much worse than what it did.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to that protocol. Like I said, just like the Terminator, you know, use a calm voice, speak clearly, be polite. If they're treating you bad, if they call me the N word, don't lose your temper. Because if I lose my temper, I'm going to be one that's going to be, in handcuffs, or if not worse.
Yeah. Whew. Man, there is another video by Dr. Drew Lanham. He's the wildlife ecologist, professor of wildlife ecology, and a birder. And I want to share that one too. But I feel like I don't want to take up too much time because our conversation is so interesting. Hearing your stuff is so interesting. But I'll share that one later because he has a protocol too, and he talks about if you're bird watching while black, like don't wear a hoodie, do these things. And he said like the birds love, like you said, getting up before the sun comes up. It's a great time for birding, but it's also a really great time to get stereotyped by people. And so if you're out with binoculars before the sun comes up, but I'll post that video. It's a great video, but we can look at that later. I want to keep kind of going on where we're at right now. And so like you said, the first thing is for people to acknowledge that there is a problem here. And so, then what's next, like for the nature journaling community or for like nature journalers, and, like I talk to nature journalers all the time and there's not field trips really happening very much now. But when there were, it's like everyone's like, oh, we're really a welcoming community. And I think the Facebook group is pretty welcoming and welcoming, means a certain thing. But like, what are some of the things, that like the nature journalers can be aware of, white nature journalers can be aware of?
The first thing to be aware of is recognize that we're out here. Nature is for everybody. It's not a white thing. It's not a black thing. It's not any racist thing. This thing is, I'm a Christian, so God created all this. He created all of us. Why can't we not enjoy it together? It's like, what's stopping me and you hanging out? Say, hey man, you want to go journaling? Let's go. I don't care what your skin color looks like. I don't care, male or female or your age. I don't care. It's like we out here. It's all about birds. It's all about nature. We share, tips on like, hey man, what kind of journal is that? Oh, it's this. Or what kind of paint you use? Oh, it's that. And you got that fellowship that's going on. And what ties you all together is your love for art and nature. And like I say, it's a powerful thing. It's like, when you're, on a team or some sports, like you play a few games together, you win together, we lose together. I may start a painting, it turns out to be trash at the end of the day, or I might hit a home run. And it's like, you know what, that's cool. And you're out there doing your thing. And it's like, it's a brotherhood. It's a whole type of fellowship, like you're part of a family.
Hmm.
And the best advice I can give is like, remember that there are other people out here that may not look like you, but they love the same thing as you do. Let them in. I'm not saying, don't be unsafe and there's a total stranger landing in your house. I'm not saying that. But I'm like, give people a chance, and that stuff that may be in the back of my mind saying I should, clutch my purse tighter or I should do this solely because of my parents. You need to check that. You need to say, like, wherever you learned it from, whether it be conscious or is this something you just noticed and you just picked up along the way? Once you acknowledge it and just say, okay, well, I'm not doing that because that's not the right way to be. I shouldn't treat Tim any different I treat another guy just because solely on his looks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the healing process started. I mean, it was a bad situation with Chris Cooper, but at the same time, it's a blessing in disguise because it finally got people to wake up and realize there is a problem. That we're not just playing the victim card, we're not just playing a race card. And the whole world saw it, and they say, thank God for technology, because if it wasn't for that, what would have really happened? Who will America believe?
Yeah, exactly.
And I hate to say it, but like, I know they wouldn't be on the side of Chris.
Yeah, it's true. And we know from history that there's plenty of examples from history when there weren't videos, the black man is definitely going to get blamed. And okay, so all right, so it sounds like self-awareness is actually a really important thing. And so what about like nature journaling teachers and people who are in sort of these teaching roles or like organizing roles who have kind of a bigger influence? What can they do to help?
Oh gosh, me as speaking as a teacher myself, it puts you like in the perfect position to share your thoughts, share your experiences, and to be real with people and what's going on. When I had my classes with Alabama Audubon, and I'm teaching classes all the time now. If you want to sign up, it's like I want people to know this is my opportunity to teach you something because the students are there to learn. They're already primed and conditioned to join the class, to pay their money, and they're sitting there and like they're sponges. They want to soak up what I have to tell them because they'll look at my work and say, wow, Tim is really good at what he does. He must know what he's talking about. I'm going to take his class. And then they'll meet me and it's like, oh, he's really nice and down to earth, because you have some teachers that's like, you better paint like me or else, or you shouldn't be allowed near a brush. That's you get some of those. It's like, there'll be no crying in this dojo, that kind of thing. And I totally don't want to do that. I see myself as more of like an art coach, to where I respect you as an artist, even though you say I don't feel like an artist. I tell my students, stop doing that. Go ahead and proclaim that you are an artist. And because I talked to one young lady, I was doing an art show and I was painting, doing a demonstration, and she said, "Oh, I like to paint too, but I'm not an artist like you." And I said, "Stop." And I said, and like, repeat after me. Say this: I am an artist. She said, "I am an artist." And I said, "You have to believe that before anybody else can. Like, you have to believe that first." Because we see artists, it's like you're on this high mantle somewhere and you have to climb to get there. I'm like, you don't have to climb anything. Just say it. An artist is just a person who takes color or whatever medium and makes something visual out of it on a two-dimensional surface, or if you're a sculptor, it's three-dimensional. Just claim it, okay? And when I teach them, I'm so excited because like I've been on experiences where it's there to share with somebody. And so I see it as a blessing where I can spread a message to somebody that's perfect, that it's something I went through, and it's something that I could help somebody along the way. And that's what I want to do. I want to help people along the way.
Yeah, that is awesome. I want to share this. Go ahead and take a drink of water. Or were you about to grab your water right there?
Oh no, my the battery on the laptop was like, hey, can you bring the cord? Bring my laptop charger, please. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna share this comment from Ivea because I think this is a really interesting one. Why don't you read that and let me know what you think about that?
Yes.
How can we
Yeah.
do that? How is that? What do you think about that, and what are ways to move forward on that?
For teachers to be aware, because I hate to say this, but when there's like commercials given or something like that, it's more like, hey, get the shot of these kids right here. They look like they'll be in the journal and stuff. And then you see the little black kids in the background who don't even get on they won't even get seen. And
Mm-hmm.
so there goes that whole thing about, uh, oh, this just white kids are into this. And it's like, no, it's like those little kids right there. But guess what? The cameraman didn't pan over there to see them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you have such teachers, people who are putting these things together. You're responsible for showing how all nature looks. Just like how you want to go after nature for one particular bird. Look at all the ones that are out here, and then you also have uh, the opportunity to where you could share these things with people. And like I say, if people won't know that they can do these things unless you show them. Me
Yeah,
being a young black kid watching APT, there was people on there, LeVar Burton, Read the Rainbow. He's a black man who's educated, and he's telling people to read. And then he went on, and now he's on a starship, and then he's, whatever. But he's, yeah, he's George LaForge. And, but hey, that meant something to me to see a black man, an
yeah,
engineer on the
mm-hmm.
Starship Enterprise with all the whole crew or whatever. It's like, it's
Yeah,
fantasy. It's like, I can do that. I'm an
yeah,
engineer now, but, art is my first love. But at the same time, to see that it was like super motivating. So like, I am a part of this, I can be this, but you won't know that unless somebody shows you. And
yeah,
some people have to be willing to go and say, hey, I'm gonna get a couple of kids to speak on journaling, and I'm gonna make sure that a black person represented. I'm gonna make sure a white person represented, and all these other races represented. So somebody could be it can be identified.
yeah. So, what would you recommend? I think this might be Della Luna commenting again on Facebook. And Della Luna says, "I'm out here, but not sure how to get involved." What would you say? Like Eve is saying, we need to get more representation and more people of color teaching and being leaders in nature communities. How can that be organized or facilitated in a way that also feels like just because you're black doesn't mean you have to be a teacher, because that could put a lot of pressure. And I'm sure you probably feel that too, is like, sometimes you're like, I just want to be an artist. I just want to be a birder. I don't want it to be about, like, oh, I'm a black birder,
Yeah, because I always say this a lot, and I really don't want to come out the wrong way. I don't want people to follow me just because I'm black. I don't want people to take my class just because I'm black. We see this, I will see it as like a positive stereotype, almost like, oh, he's, and like, don't, don't include me solely on my skin color, just like you wouldn't, disclude me or push me to the side because of my color. It's like, yes, I'm a black man. I love being black. I don't want to be anything else. But at the same time, I'm still a human being. I love art. I love birds. I'm an engineer. And it's like, let's just come together. It's like, it's, all this stuff where we always try to hang out in the little segregated groups here. Like you got the group of white people here, and you got a group of black people there. And it's like, why don't we just all just come together? Because like I said, those underlying stereotypes may be there, or underlying fear. Because to my white brothers and sisters, guess what? They may want to be more inclusive, but they kind of worry about, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I don't want to come off looking rude to them, and they'll keep them in their corner.
Right.
And it's, I have to give you an example. Selma, Alabama. Selma, you had the Emmett Parish Bridge, you had Blaze Sunday. What happened there? And I'm telling you, whenever time I go back there, I feel the history coming all from around me. And we had a plein air event where we go and paint. And guess how many black people were there? And then what a racism. White females, or males too, over the age of 40. And here I'm the only black person.
Uh-oh. I just lost your video there. I'm not sure what happened, but we might have just temporarily lost Tim. Hopefully he'll be back soon. And in the meantime, I'm going to share some of these comments people have been posting, and really appreciate everybody who's here in the chat. It seems like there's a lot of people from Timothy's family, which is great. Thank you all for showing up. I love this comment from Celia. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Hey, sorry about
Hey
that.
there. Sorry, lost you there for a second.
No, the laptop killed over, but I said, oh,
Okay.
it was gonna
No
happen sooner or
worries.
later. But yeah, going back to what I was talking about, I mean, just me being the only black person there. Um, I was self-conscious. I just kind of wanted to stay in my little corner and not say anything and get into trouble. But
Yeah.
what was really amazing, and this is what gives me hope, there are plenty enough people who are white and they don't see color like that. They was like, oh, Tim, come over here, sit with us. And really warm, really kind folks. And I had, after the Chris Cooper thing broke out, I had some of my white friends, wherever that met there, say like, Tim, I hate what's going on. I recognize they're a problem, and I want you to know that I'm gonna be part of the solution. And that just gave me hope. Every time I see stories about these things happening,
Yeah.
there's always a group of people who are amazing that'll just kind of renew my faith in humanity. Was like, you know what, the world is a better place because the folks like you are still in it.
Yeah.
So it's been amazing. Like I say, it's a blessing and curse because I do have to keep up with my protocols of where I go, what I do, and it's always playing in the background to stay safe because I just don't know who may have ill intentions. I mean, I just don't. But at the same time, you do have the other group of like, they're still kind and loving people, and they're not letting things divide them. So yeah.
I think the solution to all of this would be doing some kind of big nature journaling event at your farm in Alabama.
But I mean, because there's so much out there. When I say like 200 acres, that's a lot of room. That's a lot of room to play with, and we can go at the start of the morning. We can go to the big cut. We call the big cut was like a huge pasture. I mean, a huge. Or if you want to do some journaling of some bulls, we got Black Angus cows. They don't mind as long as you feed them, they'll hold still. Bulls and that, and they look very intimidating. But just think about it as a giant puppy or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
about weigh a ton, and they could do some seriously body damage to you if they want to, but they're not. They're super kind. As long as, like I said, you feed them, and they just look at you, and they just kind of go about their business. But
Yeah.
I definitely want to put that out there. And like I said, on the bird nature tours, I already told my brothers, like, I just want to get a group to where, I could take a group out there. We can do bird nature journaling. There's so much landscape out there. The plant life, that's another thing. The plant life is there. It's super diverse. If you're into fungus, mushrooms, I know a place there's wet and damp that we'll see those. Or if you're into the flowers, I'm also a big flower nut too. Thanks to my mom. She has a flower garden. And so we can do all kinds of things. We can be out there all day long. And that's what we want to do, is provide a place where you can calm down, be safe, don't have to sweat, worry about anybody saying, why are you here? You're on our property, So like I said, you come here, nobody calls any trouble. I mean, we had no incidents. I mean, we had 120 people show up. We had groups of 20, groups of 13. We had an all Black girl group to come out, which was really amazing. These Black mothers carrying their, Black daughters out in nature. Because I hate to say this again, but when you think of a Black female woman, you don't think, oh, she's going out in the pasture, she's going out in nature. It's like, oh, she's gonna be on TV, she'll be a star or a singer, entertainer. But to show that these young Black girls, they're in the gardening, they're in the growing their own food, they're doing amazing things out there, and it's just good to see that. It's one of those things where you see it, it's like, I feel better knowing that exists. I feel better knowing that there are people out here who look like me, who are either riding horses, raising cattle, or chickens, or whatever it is, they're in the agriculture, and they're feeding themselves and their community. That's like, this is a blessing. It's a huge, big deal.
Yeah, there is a ton of really good questions in the chat, but I almost feel like, luckily your brother's there answering some of them, but I almost feel like we're not going to have time to answer everybody's great questions, because it's almost like each one could be a whole show. And I'm looking at some of these other things I want to talk to you about, and realizing we're not going to be able to talk about all of them, but I want to make sure that we get a chance to do the lightning round. Are you ready for the lightning round? It's always fun. Oh, I lost your audio.
No, I'm getting back into the laptop.
Okay.
So I'm back.
All right. So you're on the other. Okay, here we go. I've never had it's almost like you have like there's two of you there. That's kind of interesting for a second.
Okay, this is special effects. I'll say that's my stunt double.
Okay, all right. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Okay, I mean, is it like a Family Feud? I got like 25 seconds or something like that.
Something like that. There's no timer or anything, so it's just
Okay,
like fast questions. All right. Is coffee an essential art supply?
I can take it or leave it. To
Okay.
me, I don't have to have it. It
Okay,
usually
great.
give me to work though than anything else. When I'm art, I'm like all open.
Okay. Are you an organized or messy artist?
Mm, that's a message to a lot of people, but I know where everything is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I know you're an engineer too, so
Yes.
I have some stereotypes around engineers, but I won't get into that.
Oh,
Okay. Does your family understand your art?
yes, they do.
Okay. If you could bird or nature journal anywhere on the planet, where would you go?
Oh gosh. I think I want to go to South America. I want to see those exotic birds down there. Where it's like I see pictures of them like, is this bird even real? And I just need to go down there and find out for myself.
Okay. All right. If you could make art with anyone in history or go
Oh,
nature journaling with anyone in history, who would you want to go with?
Bob Ross.
Bob
It,
Ross. Okay.
it's his
Nice.
fault that it's really his fault that I got into oil painting to begin with. He coming there with his cheerful self, painting all these trees and happy clouds and all that stuff. I'm like, I want to do what he's doing,
Okay.
and so
Well,
yeah.
when we have that reunion at the Joe farm, we're gonna have Bob Ross come out there. That would be awesome if you were still around. You know, at least in the spirit.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to be stuck on a desert island and you could only bring 5 art supplies,
Oh
what
man.
art supplies would you bring?
Oh gosh. Okay. I definitely want my gouache with me.
Okay.
I need my gouache. I need my sketchbook. Like
Okay.
I need this. I don't know how many of you I'm allowed to have, but I gotta have that.
Okay.
Brushes. Uh, I need a water supply. Well, if I'm on desert island, I got plenty of water
Yeah.
around me.
Don't worry about that. You don't need
Okay.
any survival. Don't worry about survival stuff.
Okay. Okay. Good. I would say, do I need a match? But anyway,
No.
um, okay. I need my sketchbook. I want to have. Um, I do want to have my soft pastels. My
Okay.
soft pastels and my easel. It
Okay.
just
All
and
right.
me have my easel, like man, it makes me feel like 10 times the artist than I really am.
Nice. Okay, good one. Nice. Okay, if you could have a artistic or nature superpower, what would it be?
I can call any animal towards me to paint them.
Yeah, nice
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Nice one.
That's what I want. I want to be able, like if I want to, a painted bunny to show up, I will put out a little call or something like that. Kind of like how Aquaman does with the fish. I wanted to have some kind of sonar or something. I can just call a bird towards me and like, okay, just sit right there and let me paint you, and you can go about your business.
Okay, that's a great one. All right. Do you think art will get better in the future?
I believe so. I believe art. Since this whole Corona thing hit us, it showed me. I don't know if anybody else noticed, and sound off in the comments if you have. It showed how important the arts is. When the lockdown happened, you can't go anywhere. Like the sporting events, all this stuff, the entertainment, the movies, and all that stuff. Well, all that stuff kind of just came to a screeching halt. And it's like people were in the house depressed. People were in the house like, "What am I gonna do now? This is not really to take pictures of for social media, this, that, and the other." And I'm like, let's go paint something. There were DJs who were doing like live streams, just playing music, and there were like 20 plus, 20,000 people and above watching, DJs just playing music, and people were like just saying like, man, this is really helping me. This is really getting, depression off me. I'm excited again, and the people who are making masks, the people who are crafters, the soap makers, all those folks was like they was finally getting the spotlight that everything else was taken from them because nobody thinks about, oh yeah, Tim, he just paints a lot. He's a big deal. He just paints. And it's like it, and me, if you're still am, it is a big deal. That's what I would say. Like, let me look at this. It's like I'm sitting here going through these books, you know, I got this tree that I was totally, it's in my neighbor's yard, and I was totally looking over my fence when the colors were changing. And and I get a huge sense of satisfaction when I can sign my name at the end of it, close the book, and say, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna do another one. And I'm having such a great time. And art is, like I said, it doesn't get the credit that it deserves, but it's such a human thing. It's like it goes across all language barriers. It goes across all colors. And when we're talking about race, it's like, you can be on the other side of the planet, but if you see a beautiful picture, you'll still kind of look back and marvel at it. And it's like, it's a universal language, like music.
Yeah, that's deep. That's a good job in the lightning round. I knew you weren't totally expecting it, but
It was fun. I appreciate it.
you did a great job. So, I feel like there's two big other topics that could almost be a whole nother show. But
Okay.
let's see if we can get this in a little bit of time, because I don't want to gloss over these two things. I think, especially looking at your website, it's really apparent these are very important to you. Can you talk about your faith and your family, and how those two things relate to your art and your appreciation with nature? Because when we talked on the phone, you made it really clear that both of those things are very key for you. And I think there's other people in the nature journaling community who resonate with that, and it's not something that's always talked about.
Yes.
So choose whichever one you want to talk about first, but faith and family, like how does that connect to your art and your nature experience?
Okay. Just a quick disclaimer, like I tell people, these are my beliefs. I'm not telling people to believe how they want to, but when somebody asks me that question, I'm gonna give you my story. I am a Christian. I believe in the Bible. I love everybody, and you have to be careful because some people will see that as a negative. I'm like, no, I really do love everybody. And me being a Christian, and then thanking God for the creation He made, first of all, and thank Him for my being here to enjoy. And when I go outside and go in nature, it's almost just as profound, I'll say more, than actually being inside of a church on Sunday morning. I heard another artist say this, George Gallo. He says, when I go out and paint nature, I'm as close to God as I can get without dying and and going to heaven. I mean, that's as close as I'm going to get to Him without passing on from this life. And that's what I do when I go out there and paint. And I see the birds that He created, and I see, I'm looking at all those things like, look, the creativity He has to give this bird the ability to do this. He gave this bird the ability to do that, and the plants do what they're doing. And here I am as a witness to all this, and here I am with my little journal and my little colors and my little brush, and I'm going to try to attempt to do something that He did, But it's not for me to try to recreate exactly what He did. First of all, I can't, but it's for me to kind of show my appreciation towards Him, to say like, hey, I created this thing and I thought so much beauty was in it. I wanted to see what I can create. It's almost like He gave me a gift that, I create all this, but you can create a little something too on this journal, or whatever you have on you. And that's been the guide for my life. Is like, when I want to paint something, I wanted to do something where it'd be a blessing to people. I was into airbrushing back in 2012, and I was like, you see airbrushing, to see the choppers and the motorcycles, and most of the stuff that was cool looked kind of demonic. Either they're women with no
Yeah,
clothes
yeah.
on, or they got flaming skulls with horns this big, and it's like, this will scare my kids. I can't paint this. And then it's like, why is it that the stuff that's turned to be cool looks scary? And I grew up thinking that stuff was cool when I didn't know any better. But after a while, when I started watching Bob Ross and looking at all these beautiful flowers, here it is, a black man painting a rose or whatever. It's like, oh, I'm pretty sure I'll probably get called names for that. But like you mentioned, family. My mom has a rose garden. I learned how to paint rose by sitting in her rose garden after hauling the bags of topsoil, and she taught me how to prune a flower. Why you prune a flower, you cut away the parts that's diseased. The leaves that are diseased has those spots on it. You cut that off so the flower can live. And that's almost like metaphorical. Where we think about people. Some people you just had to cut away because they're going to hurt you in the long run. But I sat out there and I was determined to paint this yellow rose I saw out there. I was not going to go in the house until I did it. And it was like maybe 4:30 in the afternoon or something like that when I finally think I did a good enough job to say, like, I finally did it, because the rose is very,
Yeah.
very detailed. And to sit there and draw that stuff, and me being like around 15 years old, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm really struggling. But I have a great appreciation. Every time I see a rose, I'm thinking about that moment. I'm thinking about my mom. My mom and dad, they're still living, but at the same time, like, even when they're gone, it's like that's my anchor
Yeah.
towards. I mean, I know the exact spot in the yard where I was. I sat the chair out there. I mean, I remember everything about that moment, and that's what the beauty behind art, that it'll tie you back to a memory.
Mm.
But when I go out there, and growing up in the church, out there in the country, I mean, when I say country, I mean there's a church, here's a cow pasture. I mean, that's how it was. But even growing up church, we was taught that one of these days you're not going to be here. You gotta have to give an account for your life here. It's like, one of these days I'm gonna die and I'm gonna have to meet my creator. I'm gonna have to meet God himself. And and I wanted to say to him, like, hey, this gift you gave me, I wanted to use it to make people happy. I want to make people think about you. And I'll hear those stories. Somebody will tell them, like, you're so talented. It just made me thank God for you for whatever reason. They just said it. Like, I'm just so thankful. It's just such a blessing to see and they'll say a black man doing something beautiful and positive, and because they're tired of hearing about us killing each other. They're tired of hearing us die by a racist cop or something negative. They're sick of hearing that. And then to see me come along, being polite and kind and loving and making these beautiful things, it's almost like it renewed their faith in a sense. Because there was so many times where they just get tired of hearing us being in the news for the wrong reason. They're sick of it. And I just want to be that one to say, hey, something positive is going to come out of this, And I paint like a person possessed because I'm trying to put as much beauty in the world as I humanly can before I'm gone. We don't know what our time is. I think 2020 taught us real fast that nothing is guaranteed, nothing is nailed down. And it's like, if I were to know that 2021 is going to be my last year on planet Earth, I'm going to paint every day as I possibly can because I want to make sure my story is told. I want to make sure somebody else may be blessed with what I've done. And that young black person or a person of color can see me and see my art, and they're like, oh, this is beautiful art. And then they realize, oh, yeah, Tim did it. What does Tim look like? There's my picture of me smiling on my website. And I was like, wow, like, oh, that's cool. Like, somebody like that's doing this thing. And that's just me leaving my mark. I mean, I'm not here to try to pursue being famous or anything. I just want the opportunities I'm given to share my gift. And that's what it is. It's sharing your gift. Not hiding it. Because there were times where I didn't think art was cool. It didn't get the attention. And I always wanted to do something different than that because I thought, well, if you're a singer, you're more popular and the girls go crazy and stuff like that. Yeah, crazy for artists. But I'm thankful I got away from that mindset because this is my voice. When I had to write my artist statement, it took me 5 years to come up with a rough draft of my artist statement because it really goes behind the curtain to my faith, my family, to explain to people who don't know me, this is why Tim paints the way he paints and why he paints it. And that is like you're talking about one of those little journeys that's, if you watch one of those little quests, like you go on a quest to Middle Earth or something like that, it's like we gotta find this thing and figure out why we do what we do. But when you find that voice, I'm telling you, like, nobody can take that away from you. And it also fuels me to go in a situation where, like I said, I had to do my protocol because I don't want fear to keep me from doing what I love doing and sharing it with somebody else.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It seems like well, let me share. First of all, let me show some love here to the audience.
I like what Mary says. Very easy. Yes, 2 Timothy's clone him.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, Mary is funny. Is Mary? Do you know Mary?
No, not I just see Mary Key, but if I do know her, that'd be amazing. If don't, it's like nice to meet you.
Yeah. And then I have one other here that I want to share. I think this might be this might be Della Luna again on Facebook asking if that is a Kadi sketchbook that you use.
No, this is it was made by Speedball, and it's one of those handmade cold pressed watercolor paper. I think it's like the 300 GSM.
Okay.
It's really hard to find because I bought it on Amazon, and Amazon don't carry them anymore.
Oh.
And I'm just thankful I bought 2 when I could because everybody would ask me, like, well, where'd you get it? And I was like, I'd tell them where I got it, but then I was like, I can't find it again. So it's so strange because it spoiled me rotten because I love painting on that texture paper.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like it works really. That gouache combination with the gouache is really great.
Gouache is a lot of fun. If anybody have questions about what kind of gouache I use, I'm not sponsored in any way, but let's say I use M. Graham. It's probably hard to see. M. Graham watercolor gouache, also made by Holbein, also, but they're really, really nice. If you want to get started, they made like a a 5 paint set that get you going, and you can add colors over time. Because I
Mm,
want people to know, like, if you want to make good art, you do have to invest in it,
yeah.
um, and then do that kind of thing. But once you get to the point where, like, okay, I got enough colors, then you can start having fun and just going forward with that.
Nice. Well, on that note, this I mean, I feel like there's a couple things here, and several people have posted like, "Oh, I can't believe an hour has gone by already."
I can't
You know,
either.
I
It
could
flew by.
listen to you forever. But I think we are going to have to wrap up here. So,
Yeah.
if several people have been asking, like, where can they find out about you more? Like classes, things like that. Where can people find out more about you?
Okay, well, you have my website, timothymjoe.com. I also have, one of the pages about if you want to do bird and nature, take classes with me on Zoom. There's that. I do a 4-week course. We meet once every week on a Friday or any other day that'll work for you. And I'll take you through first class. We'll introduce each other. I kind of take my little notes on each student. My students were laughing because I was totally taking notes on them because they was like, well, I want to learn how to get better at sketching birds quickly. I want to get better at my color mixing. And while that's going on, I'm writing notes about them like, okay, I need to teach them this. I need this.
Uh-huh.
This would be a good exercise for them. And so I individually make like a lesson plan for you, and then you go from there. I'll teach you about color mixing, water control, this kind of thing, to where I want you to feel comfortable to go outside and paint and not have to worry so much. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know what color to make, or do I need the right color? Do I even need this shade of red? And it's like, I really want to ease you into it. Like, it's okay, because sometimes we are our own worst critic. I do it all the time to myself. And after the class over, they say, this went by too fast, Tim. And like, I want to show you what I did. And I was like, yo, we're still friends. This don't have to be goodbye. Like, we can still follow each other on Instagram, Facebook. We can still talk. I mean, show me what you painted. Like, if you don't want to post it where everybody sees, send it to me, email me. I like seeing other people's work
Yeah.
just as much as I want to see my own work. That
Yeah.
it's like, it's okay. Like, it's really as a nice environment where you can just hang out and let's just paint. Let's make something pretty.
That sounds like a cool class. There's someone here who says Christina says they saw the 4-week class coming up, but wasn't sure about the time of day on Friday.
Oh, okay. Usually on Fridays I'll do like around 5:30 in the afternoon. Like I said, I got a full-time job and all that. But if you can't make Fridays, we could still work around that. The 4-week course can start whenever I wanted to. Like I said, it's always open. If you just want to just take part and sign up, don't feel like there need to be 10 people to sign up for I actually do it. If it's just you and the only person, just me and you, we'll still go forward with our 4-week course. So it's like, I don't want that to, discourage anybody from joining. And like I said, I'll give you the supply list, and you may not have the exact paints that I have. Don't worry about it. Like, we can still paint. If it still make a mark, if you still can put red paint on the paper and it still shows up red, we're good. We can keep going.
Cool. All right. Well, people are going to keep asking. I feel like people are going to keep asking questions. We're never going to be able to get out of here.
Because somebody had so many questions about gouache. A Facebook user asking about gouache.
I know.
I also asked her, well, what is it? I'll tell you. I could probably make it as quick as possible, but no, this is your show. So
yeah, let's try to wrap up here. So the one other thing, you can find Timothy Joe on his website, and then also, I mean, if you haven't checked out his Instagram,
yes, that's
definitely
my
check that out. You can and you post stuff there a lot. You've got like your bird feeder photos, you got stuff from the farm, and you've got the all kinds of art that you're doing. And then let's plug the farm one last time.
Yes.
You call it the Joe Farm, but it's also Birds in Nature.
Yeah, it's called the Birds and Nature Tours. It's just located on the Joe Farm, but if you want to Google search it, please put in Birds and Nature Tours. Mm-hmm. And like I said, you'll see it pop up. You'll see pictures of the farm and all that good stuff there. So, book a tour. We're going to get back rolling in March, I think, towards the tail end of March. My brother can probably chime in somewhere in the comments and say the exact date. But we want y'all to come out there. I mean, and I know not everybody can make it, but if you want to go to a place where, I'm not just saying this because I'm a Joe, but if you want to go there, it's where you don't have to worry about being bothered. You can take your time. We're not going to chase you off. I know that some people say, oh, I've been here for 2 hours. Is it time for me to go? Like, nobody's clocking you. It's like, just, you can hang out here all day long if you want. I mean, $25, all day access. the whole property. As long as we get there, as long as it don't, rain too much, but you can go out there all day long for $25. And we got my art will be there. We got other merchandise, T-shirts, cups, things like that. I'm actually going to do this thing where it's going to be like a bird bingo, where I'm actually going to draw like a bingo card and have the different birds there that have been seen on the farm. And for your own entertainment, can you get bingo? I mean, you're not going to win anything, but it's just for your own entertainment. Like, we just want people to enjoy themselves, for the kids and for adults.
Yeah, I want to come down for the kites. I haven't seen the scissor-tailed kites or the Mississippi kites. I would love to see those species and draw them. I posted a comment. I posted, and that's coming up. That's in the spring or something.
Well, that's gonna be in the summer time where it gets high. And my dad, because hey, it's so funny because I remember that superpower I told you about, be able to call them and they show up. That superpower is actually putting on display because my dad would get in the tractor, start cutting the hay, and then 45 minutes to an hour, you'll see one show up. And then you look away and you look back and there's 3 in the air. And then you look back and there's 6 or 7 of them. And they're just doing all this number, flying around, catching them. And like I said, he pretty much called them on command. They have been conditioned over years of him cutting the hay down there that they'll show up when they hear that tractor.
That is so cool. Well, hey, this has been such a fun conversation, and I think maybe next time, what we're gonna have to do is do like a nature journaling birding reunion at the Joe Farm, birds and nature tours, and I think it would be so cool to get a group. I mean, it could even be COVID safe, whatever. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about all this stuff with everybody. There's 32 people watching right now. I think it's been one of the most well-attended live shows I've ever done. So thank you so much for coming on.
Man, thank you for having me.
I really want to, we got a nature journal and do some painting in the field. I've never done pastels and stuff like that. So I want to
You just come on down. You can use mine, man. Just come on down. I'll get you set up. You'll love them too. Like, you'll get spoiled by them. I'm going to tell you that right now.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tim. This has been great. Have a great evening, and I'll hopefully nature journal with you in the future.
All right, man. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.